I want to get into just briefly before we close, the robotics program that you guys just had, right? Out in here in Houston, Texas, right? That went super well, the super fly program. But before we do that, I also want to ask you guys about this EFT that you guys have, right? They got the NFT out too now. You know what I'm saying? They got NFTs, right? You know what I mean? And so for everybody that know about NFTs, right, in the crypto space, but you guys got something that you call EFT, right?
Right.
Which goes along with this kind of order that you were kind of just discussing. And when you guys have even talked to me, right, about, order and structure, even from a business standpoint, EFT is like one of these first things that you guys always love to explain to help people understand, because guess what? If you're going to learn, right, like there's some things you got to think about, right, in order to be in place. And I know, Dietrich, you mentioned it earlier about having your being in a certain framework, a certain mindset, having your place right. And so kind of go into a little bit on EFT and explain that to the people, because somebody out there may be studying for something right now, right, while they listen to the podcast. So explain to them what this EFT is, and how they should use it in order to better learn.
Yeah, so Cecil kind of talked about the fun pack, right? So those are physical materials that you need or that we recommend you have and that you use in order to have a successful study session. Okay. There are other things that you need that are not physical. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we call those things the acronym EFT. EFT stands for energy, focus, and time. All right. So, energy, pretty self explanatory. When you sit down to have a study session, it's probably not good, oftentimes, for you to do it while you're laying in a bed and it's close to your bedtime. just a thought, right? Because most likely you're going to be dozing off. You're going to wake up in the middle of the night, pencil still in your hand, frantic because you done fell asleep while you're trying to study, right? So it's one of those things where you want to make sure that you have energy when you go into a study session. So you don't want to be tired. You want to, it's best you can, right? You don't want to be tired. You want to be well rested. If you got to get you, a cup of coffee or anything like that, you just do whatever you got to do to make sure when you actually sit down to have that session, that you're gonna have the energy needed in order to get through the session effectively. All right, so that's the E. The F, focus. All right, I don't know how some people do it. Cecil was one of these. He was able to focus amongst the chaos. Okay, I'm not that dude. Okay, when I sit down and I study, I have to make sure my environment for me is conducive for studying. So for me, that's going to be somewhere that's quiet. That's going to be somewhere where there's not a lot of noise going on. There's not a lot of people. It's not a lot of distractions going on, right? That's going to put me in the best position to focus. So that's the thing that people have to understand for themselves is what environment do you need? What is it that you need to make sure you have in order to focus effectively? And the last thing is time. I can't tell you how many times people think they gonna have a study session for like 5-10 minutes. What is you doing? 5-10 minutes? What you gonna get? What you gonna do? Read the title, write the title down.
That's all I need. That's all I
Get
need.
yourself situated. Then it's time to
look
go.
at it.
Like no, like so that's another thing that people, I don't know how, but it's a thing where people don't realize. Like if you really want to have a good study session, we suggest you probably need at least about 30 minutes to really kind of sit down and ingratiate yourself in the material or whatever it is that you're looking at, right? Yeah, because I've had situations where people think that they're gonna study real quick right before class, and I'm like, what time the class start? Oh, it's in 15 minutes. I said, and you trying to do what? Oh, I just want to study real quick. Seriously. Look, You come over here, we could pray together that the Lord send the angels down to come fill your head up with the material. But that's gonna be about it. Study that gonna help you at this point. So that's what EFT is: energy, focus, and time.
Gotcha. Energy, focus, time. And I think Cecil, you was telling me about a situation one time when you were kind of, talking to a young man about studying, and you were saying that the first thing you did was actually sit him down to help him understand like how much time he actually literally had, right? Can you kind of explain that? Because I think that would also kind of show people, how this EFT is put into practice when you guys sit down with somebody to actually help them to prepare for getting ready to learn.
Absolutely, absolutely. So essentially, our theory is that, a lot of what makes studying hard has nothing to do with your ability to understand what's going on.
Right.
I like to say, if you know your ABC, if you can learn your ABCs, you can learn just about anything. It's all about process. So the question then now lies, well, what's the issue? Why am I not retaining stuff? Why am I not learning when I'm doing it? And a lot of times it's hard to get the right focus you need if the time that you're utilizing when you're studying has not been dedicated to just doing that. Some people may call this time blocking, or, setting aside time, or scheduling. You could call it what you want, but you have to consciously and very intentionally set aside certain time for your studying and your learning. And that T component of EFT is just so important, because what it does is it essentially puts your mind frame in this setting where, all right, when 5 to 6 o'clock hits, that's where my mind is.
Right.
And once you have your mind focused totally on what you're doing, you will be surprised at how the information just feels like it jumps off the page. Like, and so what we try to do is help people with the process of how do I make time. And so we have this little tool, for example, we call Making Time for Fun. And so, we have this chart where you go through, you kind of write down whatever you got going on in the week. You kind of put down how much time you think it's going to take to get all that done. Then we go in and we look at, okay, now with all this information, how much time you got left to actually study. And the funniest thing is, most people, they have negative time. Most people, when they get done with that exercise, they always say, how in the world am I getting anything done? Like, by the time they add up the time that they need, it's way past the number of hours that's in the week. So it's like, it's an exercise when we start focusing in on the time part of EFT, where we help people understand the reality of just how much time it requires just to do basic things. By the time you get done eating and sleeping, I mean, you've done a large percentage of the day is eating and sleeping, and so it's like, all right, then if you're working, you got that work block at least 8 hours. Or if you're in school, you might as well just substitute the work with school. You're doing 8 hours of that. So when do you actually have time to study? And when is the best time to study? Deidre talked about it may not be right before bed for you. You may be rolling over into the bed every time you open that book if you don't set it at the right time of day. So if I got something very difficult that I'm trying to learn, it's getting that prime time of my day. Everything is going to get planned 10 to 12 for me. Oh, that's my hard working, like mental, something that's going to require a lot of my brain. Right. I might set aside 10 to 12 for those types of activities. And then I just fill in everything else outside of that. Right. So it's taking the time to make time to study. You have to do that. Right. And so that's just a little bit more detailed about the time part.
Thanks for watching the Lion and Lambo podcast. We hope this clip has been a huge blessing to you. And we want to remind you that we drop new videos, new podcast episodes every Sunday at 9 o'clock. You can find the full episode by clicking the card up at the top right of this video. If you prefer an audio only experience, then we want to let you know that we're streaming through every major podcast streaming platform. For the full list, you can go to www.lionandthelambo.com. Until next time, go impact the world.